I'm someone who's either blessed or cursed with a photographic memory. I inherited that bittersweet gift from my father, a man haunted by ghosts his entire life. The specter of my murdered grandfather hovered over our entire family, and to call it a mere memory would be a disservice to all the calamities that ensued from his untimely death. In a way, my family reminds me of something out of 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Incandescent, bittersweet, and full of broken love. Marquez writes, "Wherever they might be, they always remember that the past was a lie, that memory has no return, that every spring gone by could never be recovered, and that the wildest and most tenacious love was an ephemeral truth in the end." But perhaps I began this with a tad too much pathos, or maybe memory just elicits a kind of drowning, and when we're not careful, we can slip past the breakers and lose sight of the shore. The poet Richard Hugo has a beautiful stanza from Degrees of Grey in Phillipsburg that touches upon that very notion. Isn't this your life, that ancient kiss still burning out your eyes? Isn't this defeat so accurate the church bell simply seems a pure announcement? Ring and no one comes. Don't empty houses ring? Are magnesium and scorn sufficient to support a town? Not just Phillipsburg, but towns of towering blondes, good jazz and booze the world will never let you have until the town you came from dies inside. I'm aware, as I'm sure you are as well, of the inconsolable and confounding ache of memory. If it's not some ancient kiss, then maybe it's the scarlet hue of the sky from some bygone summer when gravity had no pull and we were just kids chasing incandescent dreams before our mothers called us home. The world seems to move in slow motion in those moments, and one can almost hear all that joy and laughter from childhood if we can just listen close enough. As such, longing and memory can be an exhausting and insufferable maze that can quicken to grief and despair if we're heedless. But it can also be the path toward our most enlivening and enlightened moments. Rumi speaks of longing less as a source of grief and infinitely more as an invitation toward a deepening of the self. He writes in the following poem entitled Bird Wings, as translated by Coleman Barks. Your grief for what you've lost lifts a mirror up to where you're bravely working. Expecting the worst, you look, and instead, here's the joyful face you've been wanting to see. Your hand opens and closes and opens and closes. If it were always a fist or always stretched open, you would be paralyzed. Your deepest presence is in every small contracting and expanding, the two as beautifully balanced and coordinated as bird wings. And so a kind of wonderment about it all can open up amid all the loss and longing instead of bleak bitterness and mere resentment toward life. One can finally realize that the antipodes of grief and joy are as necessary as the wings of a bird, because how else could we ever expect to fly?